Have you watched Cobra Kai at all?
I love Cobra Kai, but I'm behind.
Oh, you need to catch up.
Yeah.
So they're doing. I'm just not giving anything away,
Yeah.
but you will be disappointed when you go to like, oh great, it's out. So you think it's the full season like they've done? No. They're doing like 2 mid-season breaks. So there's like 5 episodes, then another 5 are dropping in November, then like another 5 are dropping in January, and it's just like, wow,
I did hear
that's
that. Yeah.
so that's brutal, man. Because like mid-season breaks are already tough,
Yeah.
right? But that's like, I mean, what
I mean, you're
you
kind of
have a
used to
mid-season
that,
break,
right?
it's like a 26 episode
Yeah.
season. That makes sense. It's like half a year, so you'd have a mid-season break. But like,
Yeah.
their seasons are like 10 episodes. You can't afford a mid-season break, man. Like,
They're just milking a hit. They just want to keep the train rolling. Yeah. I don't understand how because there's a new Karate Kid movie coming out, and I don't understand
maybe
how
that's
like
why they're just trying to
is it
span
gonna
the gap.
gel? I don't know. I played the Cobra Kai game on Switch as well, and it was very fun.
Oh, I didn't know there is a.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
have to
2.
rent that from the library.
There's 2. Yeah.
There's 2.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
They're pretty fun. But yeah, I love the show. I kind of stumbled across it and binged through it pretty fast. And I haven't started the most recent season. I'm a few episodes into like the previous season.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm having a good time. I really like it.
This show should be the model of how they bring back original IP.
It's true. I think they do such a good job of like, if you get all the deep cut references, it's great.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If you don't get them though, you can still enjoy the show. That's what I think the brilliance of Cobra Kai is.
Yeah, so. I'm not sure Tara has seen Karate Kid 3. I think she has seen 1 and 2. So she didn't know Silver.
Oh, yeah.
But I did, so I was just like, "What?" And she's like, "I don't know who that is," And so like, but still compelling character. And she's just like, "Oh, I hate that guy," and it's just like, "Yeah, you'd really hate him if you knew, like."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do a good job at that. I think you're right. You don't even need to know all the Karate Kid stuff. It's still a compelling show. It's still really fun.
And they do a nice amount of like clips from the movies to sort of bring you in a little bit. But yeah, I think I feel like by, whatever season we're coming into now, like they've pushed it a little far. You know what I mean? Like it's maybe gone on a little too far. It's like, wow, we're still doing these karate wars, huh?
Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and this week our journey through Star Wars vintage brings us to the Droids.
Today we're discussing Droids number 6 through 8, Star Wars According to the Droids. Part 1 hit the stands November of 1986. Book 2 in January of 1987, and Book 3 in March of 1987. It's a big span.
It is, yeah. I guess they were coming out every other month or something, but
yeah.
These issues were written by Dave Manick, a name we know well. They were illustrated by Ernie Cullen, which is new to us. They were collected by Marvel in the hardcover Star Wars Legends Omnibus Ewoks and Droids. And then this little batch of issues was republished in 2019 as just a one-shot single issue, True Believers, Star Wars According to the Droids, number 1 in 2019. So, yeah, I got a little bit of play once again.
Yeah, True Believers. That's an interesting little.
That's like a Marvel. It's like a Marvel kind of thing,
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Stan Lee is always like True Believers, Excelsior. Our featured creative this week is Marie Severin. She served as the inker on issue number 6, but would go on to have a long career in comics. It eventually was inducted into the Eisner Comic Hall of Fame and the Harvey Comics Hall of Fame. One of her most enduring creations is Spider-Woman, the Jessica Drew version of Spider-Woman, a character she co-created with Archie Goodwin. She even created her iconic outfit that is still in use today. So, not too shabby. Do you like the Spider-Verse movies?
I do. I really do.
And I'm ready. I'm ready for the third.
Yes, I am too. It's funny. Like I liked Spider-Man 1 and 2. and I think they were directed by
You talking about the Tobey Maguires, like the
Tobey
originals?
Maguire's. Yeah, they were the same
Yeah,
director, right?
Sam Raimi did all
Sam
three.
Raimi. Yes. Yeah.
He
Oh, he
did
did all
all
three.
three. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the third one does
Yeah.
not feel like a Sam Raimi movie. I didn't
No,
know
it
that. I honestly
doesn't.
thought it
It
was directed.
doesn't.
Wow, that's interesting.
I know.
I wasn't a big fan of the Andrew Garfield
Yeah.
ones. I don't know. It's just a remake of it just
Yeah. It
I
felt
didn't
too
want that.
soon at the moment. Yeah.
That's true. I think because I know a lot of people that do like him.
I like them. I mean, I especially number 2. I like Jamie Foxx. I like the whole Electro
That
thing.
one was fun. I did like that one because
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx was like too cool for that
Yeah.
movie, man.
Yeah.
He was good. His character was good too. I
Yeah.
liked this character.
I liked it.
But no, yeah, these ones, I think the Spider-Man themselves make or break the movie. And
Yeah.
I just think that Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland,
Oh yeah.
I think for me, at least my envisionment of Spider-Man, they do it better. I think Andrew Garfield is too good looking, too suave. Like he's just not a nerdy guy. To me, I look at him and I go, I would not have handpicked him out of a group of Spider-Man. I probably wouldn't even have picked Tom Holland, but Tobey Maguire is a total pencil neck geek nerd looking guy. And
Definitely.
he's perfect.
You know the thing, like the one issue I have with Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is that he's not quippy at all. And that's really more about the writing than Tobey Maguire.
Oh,
he's
that's
not
true.
like joke a mile a minute like Spider-Man, like you expect him to be. But
which Tom Holland is like.
Yeah, he is.
Everything is,
when the Tom Holland
can I have your
Spider-Man shows
autograph,
up,
like
when he shows up in Civil War, it's just so he's like, "Hey, everybody!" It's just like such a great.
Oh,
intro
hey,
for
everyone!
that
It's
character.
Captain America. Can I have
love
your autograph? Like stuff like that. It's like, dude, we're in a battle.
And Into the Spider-Verse, I love what they're doing with Miles Morales, and I love the style of those movies and everything. It's just super cool.
I really love those too. Like
Yep.
the second one was a little tough for my kids because I think it was a little bit more intense on the fear aspect.
It was also like a constant chase, so
That's true. Yeah. But those are so good. I really like the Miles Morales ones too.
Yeah, I just started playing the Miles Morales game on PS5. And it's
so bad.
No, I finished it. I finished the Miles Morales game. I started Spider-Man 2, which is you play as both Peter and Miles. You kind of switch.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Man.
Yeah, they're very good. They're super good.
Yeah, I've seen people play it.
Took me a minute to get into that first one, but they're top notch.
Yeah. Man, they've done so well. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. You'd think we were doing a Spider-Man podcast, but we're not. We're talking about the droids.
The droids. Yeah. Oh, I mean, should I take us into the... Well, we're not going to go through the uber detailed plot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully most people who are listening to this, hopefully everybody who is listening to this has seen Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 4.
Yeah.
This episode 4.
I made the same mistake though. I thought that because we got 3 issues, I thought each issue was going to be a movie, but no, it's just a retelling of number 1.
Did that. Yeah.
Of A New Hope.
I turned the page and it was the Ewoks comic, right? Because I'm reading the omnibus.
Yep.
And I turned the page and I was like, oh, that was all 3. That was 6, 7, and 8. I just read 6, 7, and 8. Oh man.
Like, was the plan originally to go through, or I wonder if they were like, look, we're only going to do a few more of these droids comics, so, do whatever you want. I don't know.
They could have done, and we'll let's talk about the,
all right,
I have a list of the most notable
tell me.
additions and differences, right? And kind of starting along with.
Yeah, because it kind of, like on the cover of the comic, it's like, Star Wars from the droids' perspective with new scenes. So there's a lot of new scenes mixed in. So yeah,
which is great. I mean, that's perfect. So from the get-go, it's wrong.
Yeah.
The Star Destroyer that's chasing him does not look like a Star Destroyer. The Rebel blockade runner is just obviously not a Rebel blockade runner. And so that to me, this is when I was convinced reading it that I was like, there must be some sort of copyright or licensing that they only purchased in name only rather than like, can we copy everything? Which is, I think, why we see R2 with different colors. right?
Could
That
be.
if they do the blue and stuff, then it's too much of a likeness, and they might have to pay more money.
Yeah,
Right?
but because it's very noticeable that like none of the characters, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, looks completely different.
Yep.
Like nothing is really, like you can recognize, oh, that's Darth Vader, but it's not right.
Yes.
So like everything's
Exactly.
slightly different.
Even prominent characters that are like a notable character that like the guy that's giving the Death Star trench run pep talk, like this is what we're gonna do. That guy looks completely different.
Yeah,
He's not even the same.
The Tarkin-esque character is very different.
Oh, the
So
Tarkin. Oh yeah,
yeah,
very much like
weird.
vampire almost.
Yeah, he
like,
is. Yeah,
you
he
can
is.
tell. You're like, oh, weird. He looks like a Baron vampire.
Yeah, he
Because
does.
he's got like blue and red uniform on. It's completely
All right.
different.
So tell me all about it.
The first notable scene is there's a scene where R2 and 3PO fall through the sand on Tatooine
Yes.
and meet mole creatures who C3PO thinks wants them to lead them, like lead their people.
Yes.
But they actually end up feeding them to a gigantic lizard that spits them back out onto the sandy surface. So
yeah, so this is like right after the droids escape
land
with
on
the
them.
with the "Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi" message.
Yes.
Escape and they land here. Yep.
Little weird because we know that 3PO has 6 million forms of communication, but like you fell into like a mole or like a mole or gopher hole. Like, oh, I feel like they're trying to talk to me. Let me translate. It's like they could just be animals.
That's
like,
true. Yeah. Somebody programmed him with this mole language. So
I know he was trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's
very thorough.
And then we come to the first notable difference. So 3PO is found by the Jawas first.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. R2 was found first, and when C3PO gets in there, he finds R2 already in the Jawa sandcrawler. One other addition or one other difference is we get a binary sunset. The binary sunset is traded for binary moons.
Oh,
different.
Okay.
So there's two blocks.
That's
in
a
the,
deep
comics.
catch.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, binary moon. I had to look back at it a couple times just to make sure that those were like stars and not actually a sunset. So soon after that, when R2 runs away from Luke into the desert, he finds the Sand People and hides under a bantha.
Yeah.
He is discovered, but manages to escape by projecting a giant image of 3PO, like up in the air, kind of like Leia. When he projects Leia's image, he does that with C3PO, and all the same people are like, so that's cool. Okay, we get to see like what happens when R2 leaves, right? So in the movie, we just he left last night. We don't get any. We don't get anything.
Addition. Yep.
So it's a good filler, right? Next is when R2 and 3PO are thrown out of the cantina. They end up hiding from stormtroopers by disguising themselves with droid parts that they didn't pay for. This causes a scene drawing attention to them. Only after R2 thinks quickly with his buzzsaw are they able to escape and return to Luke and Ben. So
Once again, I thought we were going to get the C3PO silver leg, but it didn't happen.
I know, right? The next one is on the Death Star now. R2 and 3PO are almost caught after Han and Luke and Leia land pulled into the tractor beamed into the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
R2 and 3PO are with them. They almost get caught by a stormtrooper, but then lie about their code clearance. And for some reason, the stormtrooper that they were talking to is very nice and innocently escorts them to Tarkin, because apparently that's the code level 10 that they are allowed to go see. But the stormtrooper is then vaporized by Lord Vader for his stupidity, which is a pretty shocking couple of...
A little different. Yeah, a little different.
Yeah, that armor is smoking and hollow. Yeah. So he completely that's probably the most vicious thing we've seen from Vader, basically just vaporizing him, cooking him completely to ash. So they manage to escape in the elevator away from Tarkin and Vader, and they finally make it to a spot where they can then save Luke, Leia, and Han from being crushed in the garbage chute. But then, on their way back to the Falcon, they run into Ben and Vader's lightsaber battle. So that's cool, right? So they just saved Han, Leia, and Luke and Chewie, and then they're running back to the Falcon. They're cut off, but they managed to awkwardly make their way through the epic duel. So it wasn't enough that there was the duel, but 3PO and R2 had to make it super awkward, which was like
Mhm.
really that was, to me, that was the weirdest addition. And then we come to another notable difference: the pilot suits, the pilot flight suits, what we've come to know and love, the orange jumpsuit with
Yeah.
the white bib and control thing. They're very different. They're orange, but they are very different. They're like orange and blue, and they have a completely different style.
Mhm.
First I was like, whoa, what are these guys? And then I
Yeah.
realized that, well, this is the pilot suits. Man, they are totally different.
Yeah.
So very like weird way of doing that.
Mhm.
And then we come to another addition. R2 and 3PO discover a homing droid on the Falcon. It attacks them, but they manage to destroy the droid before it can attack the base's power generators. So that's significant, right? Because it was alluded to that they were tracked. So
Mhm.
that's how they knew that the base was on Yavin, right? And so here we get the little droid that was tracking them. And then not only was it there to tell the Empire where they were, but it was meant to sabotage the base as well, which is,
Right.
I thought, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool addition. And then the last difference that I noticed was Vader's tie advanced was very different. It looked
Yeah.
basically just like a actually, it looked like it had the TIE foil, regular TIE fighter foils, but an elongated body. But the foils
Yeah.
themselves weren't like that, elongated
Mhm.
TIE advanced style kind of curved foil. Other than that, it went right on with episode 4.
The old Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still disappointed that it doesn't incorporate more. Like, it doesn't feel like we're reading issue 6 of a series. It just feels like it's its own standalone thing. Did you find that, or did you feel like it tied in with the rest of the comics we've been reading?
Ooh, that's a good question. I didn't really think of that. Because I guess there would have to be like, well, there was a lot of silly things. So I felt like 3PO's character was similar in style as what we've seen,
Yeah.
right? And then R2 kind of is silently saving the day. So that like, to me, it did have that same feel, but what
Okay.
it did not have was I did not feel issue 6,
Yeah.
issue 7, issue 8. I was reading it thinking that this was just a longer issue.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't know what I was going to get. I didn't realize it was a 3-parter. And so, because sometimes when we read the Ewoks, it will be broken into 3 parts.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh, this is part 1,
Yeah.
this is part 2, part 3. So with this, it was like part 1, part 2, part 3 was 6, 7, and 8. And
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that. So I don't know, but there's a part of me that does agree that like it didn't seem like it was the same thing that we've been reading.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
just feel like it could have been, because
Tempo
the thing
was different.
Yeah, I think if they would have stuck with the same character designs, and we still get R2's like weird red coloring, so there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But if we stuck with the bubbly, cartoony look that everything else has had, and still kind of move through the movie using that, I think that could have been kind of cool, because the scene where they go and they use the other droid parts to like hide themselves, the little battle with the homing droid, like those did
Yeah.
feel like it.
Yes.
But it just didn't quite look like it. So
I
don't
think
know.
they had too much of the episode in the comic.
Yeah,
Right? We
I
didn't need
agree.
to rehash a lot of the things,
Yeah.
like it could have just been like, I thought it was really important to have that scene where R2 runs off.
Yeah.
Right? But all you need is like a frame or two where like
Yeah.
Uncle Owen's like, oh, it's time to come to dinner, put the droids to bed. And he's like, okay. And we just know where this next scene fits in.
You shouldn't really have to retell the story of Star Wars, I guess.
Yes.
And they seemed to really either want to do that or felt like they needed to do that. But
yeah,
I don't know. One thing I thought was interesting, the each little section had its own subtitle. And the last section that deals with like the end of the movie, so like Obi-Wan dying and Luke kind of taking over. Did you happen to see what that last chapter is called?
No, what's it called?
The Last Jedi.
No way.
So I was like, oh,
way.
interesting. Okay.
Man, that's crazy. I did see a video once of a guy like basically scrambling all the titles that actually make way more sense.
It does make sense. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh man, that's a great video. But
I can't imagine, like, if I was a kid who liked that show. I mean, first of all, I can't imagine a kid liking that show. But if I were a kid who liked that show and then was reading that comic, to wait 2 months in between issues and then just get like a lukewarm retelling of Star Wars, I feel that I would have been very disappointed.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's a great point. To wait 2 months.
Yeah.
It is really a lukewarm retelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a reinventing of all of the architecture and colors, and that can be tough, I think. That's a little weird. I wonder how like kids or young adults would have like responded to like, what am I it's like a
Yeah.
like Timu Star Wars, you know? Like
Yeah,
what
true.
the heck, you know?
It didn't really feel like it was particularly like here's a kiddie version. I mean, there already were comic
Yeah.
adaptations of the original movie. This is, nearly 10 years later, so it's just kind of strange to do that. I don't know. Well, what's your Okavark moment while we're talking about things we didn't like?
Mine is just it's those plainly obvious differences.
Okay.
I think that it was distracting. It was very distracting. You know, I kind of kept looking at Tarkin like, what in the what?
Yeah, that
How
was
did
a
they
really
get
different.
this? You know,
Yeah.
like the flight. Maybe the flight suits is a stupid thing, but like that's such an iconic look, and
Yeah.
it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different. So, yeah, that to me ended up being very distracting. I found myself like turning back, like even flipping 2 pages and then being like, wait a minute, I got to look at that again and go back and just be like, why? Why is that so? But it's got to be licensing or something that they were not able to copy the likeness of things. Even, you know what's even interesting that I noticed because I was just distracted by everything that was different? Leia's buns are slightly different. And
Yeah,
then
that's true.
when they're in the garbage chute, her hair is down.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in a dress. It's like, man, Leia's like a babe. They like totally drew her as like a babe. And it's like,
That's true.
what
They
is
did.
happening?
Well, and Luke looks like 15 compared to Han Solo
It
too.
does. That's so true. That was a good point.
So
He's drawn very teenagery.
yeah, he is.
I couldn't get over that. What about you?
I was trying to base mine on like the little side, like the bonus scenes, and
Mhm.
I felt like them dropping into like a mole kingdom on Tatooine was like just a bad start, because
That's so true.
they were just moles. It wasn't even like some creature, or they didn't use, you kind of see that lizard like skeleton. They didn't use some sort of lizard creature underground. It was just like, yeah, under the desert is a kingdom of moles trying to get a leader.
It felt like the Ewoks. It was
Yeah,
the
it did.
Tatooine Ewoks,
Yeah. It just felt like a really lame way to kick off. Like, you're going to see new scenes in Star Wars. I thought that was a bad start.
Yeah, that's true. We've talked about that too, about things not feeling Star Warsy.
Yeah.
That did not feel
No, it
Star
didn't.
Wars at all.
It felt like, the Smurfs or something. It was weird.
Yeah.
What did you like? What's your Ichiwawa moment?
I liked the off-screen droid activity that like, oh, that's really fun. Like I didn't think, in your mind, like, yeah, they do get thrown out of the cantina and then they're just not part of the story.
Yeah.
So it is fun to just be like, yeah, okay, they didn't really go to a stormtrooper saw them, so they kind of had to escape. And then there's this whole scene and, causing a ruckus in the market and escaping the stormtroopers. And they finally get back and it's like, we just, Luke and them just assume that they've been there the whole time. That kind of aspect of like, yeah, but you don't know they weren't there the whole time. And I thought that was really, I think that's a great idea, right? There's a book out there, right? That's like Star Wars from different points of view. It's called From a Different Point of View, right?
From a certain point of view.
Point of view. That's it. From a certain point of view. Great idea. Tell the same story from a different point of view, and I think that's a really good idea, and I really liked that aspect. I also really liked those binary moons.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I was like, oh, what a nod to binary sunset. There's binary moons. That was just, I mean, of course, I was also thinking of, okay, so I guess Tatooine has binary moons and binary suns.
Yeah.
The physics in me
going
was
on?
like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Am I willing to accept this? I'm going to accept it. I know I complain about everything, but
you
I'll
made an
accept
exception. Okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I know. What about you? What about, what was your,
I really liked the whole sequence with them fighting the homing droid. Like, I liked the look. He looks like a little red, like a Dirt Devil vacuum. And they, I liked that it was droid versus droid. And I think one of the reasons why I liked that part so much is because it actually did feel like the droids cartoon and comic.
Yeah.
Like, the look of it and just the interactions and everything was like, hey, like the droids show. So that was my favorite part.
They even destroyed the droid in the most Droids show way by just
They did.
closing it in a door.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
of all the things, that's
I
what
know.
they chose to do.
I
I
know.
just think that's funny that like, that's so like, I just imagine like, oh no, we need to do something, and then like 3PO's twerking and closes the door with his butt accidentally and destroys it.
That's his way.
Totally Droids. Yeah, yeah. So that's a very good observation. That is totally
Yep.
the droids.
That was the thing that felt kind of like, all right, I'll give it some points for that. How many yub nubs do you give this one?
I think what brought this down was the Star Wars retelling.
Yeah,
the actual Star Wars.
I agree.
That was like, to me, I felt like I was often scanning over it, and I had to like, tell myself, no, go back and actually read it. There might be something different, or a mistake that I could catch, But like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is like a 3.5 to me, where like I really like some of the good parts, but it's a net positive, so I'll give it over a 3. But I just don't think those stories were compelling enough to really push this over into like being a 4, which is like something that I would suggest for somebody to read.
I'm gonna go harsher.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say a 2. Because I think the added droid scenes really unbalance the story. So if you were
that's interesting.
You were just gonna like read this as a story, then it just feels like, okay, there's like serious plot happening, and then like these droid shenanigans, and then like serious plot happening. It's like it makes it so it's all very unfocused, and they never feel like cohesive, like they're part of the same thing. So like reading it is just kind of like, this is a horrible retelling of the first movie, and it just doesn't really have like an identity, I guess. So I don't know who it's for. I don't know who would like enjoy it, I guess.
Well, yeah, the Star Wars, that's a good point. I didn't think about that too, that the Star Wars, the scenes, the pages that drive the Star Wars story don't actually include 3PO and R2. They don't. It's just it is like 2 stories mashed together in order to kind of tell, rather than just being like starting from them being in the Rebel blockade runner and Leia transmitting a message to R2. That would have been a great start, because that's kind of how we met them. And then they're walking through the hall, and all of a sudden the door explodes. Yeah. And they're like, well, what's going on? Like that would have been better.
Well, I think to your earlier point, if the Star Wars plot elements of it had just been these abridged little like, oh, I get, okay, so now this is the thing. It's almost like in the background. That could have been cool. You know what I mean? Because theoretically, you're just kind of like, oh, we're at this part of the movie now. Okay. Like, I don't need the whole conversation, and I think if it had just been basically droid shenanigans, and then, Star Wars and droid shenanigans, and then a little bit of Star Wars, but it was like 50-50, and it just didn't work because the storytelling was completely different.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it.
Yeah. I get that.
Just looking at the droid scenes, I would have rated it higher. It's just...
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It was an interesting journey, and here we are.
Yeah.
I'm excited about our next episode, because next time it's going to be another installment of this enterprising life as we temporarily shift focus into the Trek world for Star Trek Day, and we will be covering Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Oh man, I cannot wait.
Are you excited?
I am, because this is probably the one Star Trek that I've had the greatest spans of time in between watching.
Yeah.
Right? Well, maybe not. I know you really like Star Trek 3.
I do.
And I know you really like it. And it's great that we are co-hosts, because I really do not like it.
That's funny.
I do not like Star Trek 3. But like every time I watch this, I'm always like, why don't I watch this more often? Why don't I watch this right after I watch Star Trek 4? Right? Yeah. Because like Star Trek 4 is so great, and then you get into Star Trek 5 and you're just like, all right, man, all bets are off. Like that's when the beer sets in.
Yeah.
Star Trek 5.
I'm excited to do it. And this is the 35th anniversary of Star Trek 5, so it's the perfect time.
35th. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's where we'll be. So, Phasers on stun. I'll see you then.
Beam me up. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 9021 Here We Go, 90s Music Got Me Like, and previously on X-Men. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or X at Endorian Life, and please rate, subscribe, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts.